why these are required, why we need to learn. These are required for our preparedness and then implementation. There are a number of points we are discussing and we are analyzing and trying to find out whether GST is good for the country or not, specifically for the SME and MSME sector. If you look at GST today, which we are talking about, it is definitely adding to our GDP an advantage of doing business in India. It will done away with the multiplicity of taxes, be at central level or be at state level. Your central excise, service tax, number of surcharge and cess from central taxes will subsume in one basket GST. Number of state taxes, value-added tax, CST the central levy but administered and collected by state government, luxury tax, entertainment tax, entry tax, octroi, LBT, all subsume in one basket. 17 indirect taxes subsume in one basket, which is called GST. So just imagine a situation, these multiplicity will go away. Advantage 2, cascading of taxes. Today we are struggling, credit is not available, excise charged by a manufacturer to a VAT dealer. VAT dealer is not able to take credit. VAT charged by a VAT dealer to a service provider, he can't take credit. Service provider charging service tax to a VAT dealer can't take credit. CST, octroi, cascading of taxes will go away in GST. Advantage 2. Advantage 3, double taxation. If I start double taxation, the important and prominent would be AC restaurant. On 10,000 rupees, our food bill, VAT is being charged and 40% of 10,000 service tax is being charged. And why double taxes? Because central law does not recognize state provision, state does not recognize central provision. We end up paying double taxes. And double taxes applicable on construction, IPR, IT software. On software 100%, on 100% value, base value 100 rupees, we are paying full VAT and full service tax. Right to use of movable goods, works contract, double taxation applicable. It will go away. We will have clarity. What is supply of goods? What is supply of services? So these are three biggest advantages, but the better and most. Our Honorable Prime Minister is saying this GST is a one nation, one tax. Right? And how come it is one nation, one tax? Today, if you're having offices in 29 states, it looks like we are working in independent countries when state provision are applicable. You leave Kerala and Tamil Nadu, even in NCR region, Delhi VAT provision not applicable in Haryana. Haryana VAT provision not applicable in UP. UP VAT provision is not applicable in Rajasthan. And it looks like we are in 29 countries within the Union Territory of India. And this will get uniform. Uniformity will come. Our taxable event would be supply. We'll done away with the manufacturing, sale of goods, rendering of services. Only supply will be taxable even for chargeability of GST. Classification get uniform, valuation get uniform, and the forms and procedure of registration process. Whatever registration process I require in Delhi would be applicable all over India. Whatever return I'm filing in Delhi would be applicable all over India. Whatever due date I'm filing in Delhi, applicable all over India. So your registration, payment, return and refund get uniform. That is called one nation, one tax. And on a serious and lighter note, Jammu Kashmir, we are saying today whether part of India or not, right? And we are fighting amongst ourselves. But GST, model GST law says it is applicable all over India, including Jammu and Kashmir. So for me, Jammu Kashmir become integral part of India. And that's what I can say, whatever provision applicable in Kashmir would be applicable in Delhi. What is applicable in Delhi? Applicable in Kerala. And that is what one nation, one tax. Which model India is looking at? India is looking at dual model, where center and state both are going to charge taxes on supply of goods and services. It may be question to our mind why we need dual taxes. Central excise will continue as a CGST, VAT department will continue as a SGST. Why double taxes? Federal structure. Political consensus is like that. Otherwise, we have national GST model, the best model. The central levy taxes with the revenue sharing with the state. We can't follow here. That's the reason we are looking dual GST model. In this model, center and state both are going to charge taxes on both goods and services. How it is going to work and how it is going to create uniformity, one nation, one tax. There are two kinds of major transactions, intrastate and interstate. In case of intrastate, for goods taxability, excise applicable and VAT applicable. And VAT is calculated inclusive of central excise duty, cascading. What will happen post GST? They are saying on 100 rupees, CGST, central levy, SGST, state levy is going to be applicable. In this case, SGST is not calculated inclusive of CGST, advantage one. Advantage one. Second point is coming rate. What would be the rate applicable, which is a worry in everyone's mind today. What would be rate applicable? I'm just picking up one industry so that you can understand why rate is going to be important for all of us together. We got some representation from corrugated box industry. Presently, their product is chargeable to 6% central excise and 5% VAT. Now they are worried, my product today chargeable only 11%. Are you going to put my product under standard rate of 18%? And why we are talking standard rate 18%? Just to recall, there was an R&R committee led by Chief Economic Advisor Dr. Arvind Subramania. He submitted his report in December 2015 and he suggested there would be R&R of 15% to 15.5% with 4 slabs, 2 to 6%, 12%, 17 to 19% and 40% demerit goods. So what is the idea coming out? If at all standard rate applicable, it is around 17 to 19%. So just take an example of corrugated box, which is presently chargeable only 11%. If 18% tax levied, what will happen to that industry? There is one way to look at that, whatever tax you will charge, credit would be available. But ultimately, pricing for the consumer will go up. If pricing for consumer will go up, what happens? Consumption comes down, supply comes down, and GDP goes down. Otherwise, normally, if you look at goods taxability, which is standard rate 12.5% central excise, approximately on an average 14.5% VAT, 27% indirect tax levy today, as against 27%, even if 20% decided, you will have better option for the goods taxability. Price will come down. If price comes down, your supply will go up. If supply goes up, GDP goes up. And that is what our Honorable Prime Minister and Finance Minister is talking about, 2% incremental GDP growth. In case of interstate, and this is the biggest indirect tax and business reform in GST. Today, we can't do interstate business. If I'm supplying from Delhi to Gurgaon, don't go to Kerala. I'm charging central excise duty and I'm charging CST at the rate of 2% against Form C. If Form C is not available, local VAT rate as applicable. In this case, CST calculated inclusive of central excise duty, cascading, and being buyer, if you are not manufacturer, nor first stage dealer, nor second stage dealer, you can't take credit of central excise and CST component. 14.5% is a cost, state barrier. We are not having free trade agreement. That's what between the state. We can't move seamless flow of movement of goods from one state to another state. How GST going to change the life? In GST, now they are saying on interstate supply of goods and services, IGST going to be applicable. It's a central levy. And IGST is a sum total of CGST plus SGST. So in the same example, let's say 20% standard rate decided, then IGST rate would be 20%. So what happened? On 100 rupees, IGST applicable 20%. And when you are buying interstate, you can take credit of IGST. And now this IGST credit can be used for payment of IGST liability, CGST liability, and SGST liability. Look at today, you can't take credit of central excise and CST, but tomorrow you can take credit of IGST, and this credit can be used. If you are doing intrastate, then you would be having liability of CGST and SGST. If you are doing interstate, you would be having liability of IGST. Only mantra you have to keep it in your mind, IGST credits should be used sequentially. First for payment of IGST, then CGST, then SGST. What is the business model change? I can do business all over India. I can supply sitting in Delhi to Kerala. I can supply from Kashmir to Kanyakumari because credit is available. Credit is only what I will do, I will factor in transportation costs and time period required for transportation. Today we may have 29 warehouses across all the state. Why we maintain the warehouses? To raise the taxable invoice. Tomorrow we may not be requiring. We can do business sitting in Delhi only. We need not require to open warehouse, provided we are not required for the customers need to open the warehouses at customer premises, customer place. You can do business sitting in Delhi. So those who are only cornered in a state, they can open and they can do business across India, and that is called one nation, one tax. And this rate which I am referring to, it is applicable uniformly throughout the country. So you do not require to look at if this product is chargeable to 20% in Delhi, rest assured this product is going to be chargeable to 20% rate across India. Only things which is coming to your mind, I was discussing with some of the participants during tea break, and they were talking about agriculture product. They were referring that my product presently only 2% central excise without SANVAT, and even that is not applicable. I taken the example of corrugated box, 6% plus 5%. So what happened? For that I appreciate Neeraj ji. He has said positively. He said we are at the stage of representation, deliberation. If we are finding that now my product is going to be taxable, then what would be the rate? We have to file the representation. To whom? To Central Board of Excise and Custom and Finance Ministry, GST Council, empowered committee, and say what you are looking for. Why you want 11%, maximum can be 12%, not 18% or 20%. Am I clear to all of you? I hope I'm clear. Am I right? Right. Perfect. Second point, which is a concern for all of us together, threshold exemption amount. What is the threshold exemption amount? From excise perspective 1.5 crore, from service tax perspective 10 lakh rupees, and from VAT perspective 5 lakh to 20 lakh rupees. 20 lakh rupees in Delhi. Now GST Council has decided 20 lakh would be threshold amount. But the point of worry which I would like to represent to Neeraj ji, sir, aggregate turnover, the way it is being defined in model GST law, it's really an eye-opener. And you have to really appreciate you're not giving real benefit. Aggregate turnover includes taxable turnover, non-taxable turnover, exempted turnover, export turnover. Just imagine the situation, my turnover is 21 lakh rupees, which includes 20.5 lakh rupees non-taxable turnover. Only 50,000 is a taxable turnover. Just because aggregate turnover definition is like that, I have to take registration and charge GST. So ultimately, if you look at present versus proposed, present they say aggregate value of taxable turnover only. But the proposed provision says aggregate turnover includes taxable, non-taxable, exempted and export. So realistically, benefit is not being given. First component. Second component. Now second component is, which is important for all of us together. There are more than 247 product excise exempted, more than 100 product VAT exempted. And the question and worry coming to our mind, whether our product will continue to be exempted post GST, is the first worry coming to our mind, and whether this exemption will be uniform throughout the country, whether there will be specific relevance of the state-wise exemption. My answer to all of you would be, and the answer is being given none other than Honorable Finance Minister. He said he want to squeeze this exemption list, and this list would be of 100 product only. In 100 product, and it is uniform throughout the country. It is not state specific. So you may end up, today you are excise exempted, but tomorrow you are not exempted. Am I right? When you are not exempted, you have to start your preparation. Let's say from appointed day 2017, April 2017. Today you are exempted, tomorrow you are taxable. Then tomorrow if it is taxable, for worry this should come to your mind, what happened for the input credit, which is being used, input as such in semi-finished goods and finished goods on appointed day, you should be given that credit. So that is required for the preparedness. RB gearing up, SSI manufacturer, right? 1.5 crore. You can't take credit of central excise duty and service tax. But tomorrow, 20 lakh rupees is the criteria. So you are going to be taxable. When you are going to be taxable, then your preparation required on appointed day, what is your stock position? On that you have paid the excise duty, right? Paid the service tax. Please prepare those aspects as well. So there are two-way, three-way we have to look at. One way, what is our representation? Another way, what preparation we require? Third, what are the things we have to keep it in our mind? Let me take one more example and you will understand the importance of this one. I'm a VAT dealer. I'm a VAT dealer today, right? When I'm a VAT dealer and threshold amount is 20 lakh rupees, then I'm not availing excise credit, right? Alright? So on appointed day, 1st April 2017, let's say my stock is 10 crore rupees. I've availed the VAT credit. Now what transition provision says, if VAT credit availed, that will allow the SGST. But what happened for the excise component? Can you avail the credit? Law does not say anything. So I'm only highlighting that apart from our, implementation issue, there are certain preparedness required. And here we have to highlight, sir, I have paid excise duty. I may be procuring from excise come VAT dealer. He has raised excisable come taxable invoice. Or I'm procuring from a VAT dealer, he has raised taxable invoice. But I'm having stock which has suffered the excise component. But law does not say. So we need to have that credit available, otherwise we will end up paying CGST. Though I paid the excise duty component in earlier law. So those kind of representation required, because now this threshold amount is getting down to 20 lakh rupees, and that too with a definition of includes taxable, non-taxable, exempted and export turnover. So I'm just highlighting those important points for all of you for preparation's sake. It's a technical presentation. My humble submission to all of you would be, sometime we start talking about, no, GST, model GST law has got certain lacuna. But tell me, this law has come on 14 June 2016. Government is so positive about, they have put it on public domain for our feedback, suggestion, representation. So what is important required when I know I'm going to be taxable post GST, we require to look at the provision and try to find out what are the implications coming on our organization. Am I clear about it? Let's take another example. Now taxable event would be supply of goods and services, right? Stock transfer. We don't pay that. We don't pay that against from F, right? But we pay central excise duty. Tomorrow we have to pay GST on stock transfer for interstate supply of goods. So what is the implication coming out? There are two ways to look at this transaction. If stock transfer is chargeable to GST, what would be the valuation, right? First point. So law says valuation would be transaction value. Transaction value means sell price. On that you have to pay GST. So idea is, if I'm paying GST on transaction value, credit would be available, no doubt about it. But it is going to hit the working capital. I'm SME. I'm MSME sector. I'm not having free flow of fund with me. I need to have something, but apart from SME and MSME sector, it is applicable across the board. So what could be the suggestion? I can give you the suggestion, and I'm passing on these suggestions to government officers as well. See, today under central excise, rule 8 is there, valuation 2000. They say cost plus 10%. Instead of levying GST on transaction value, why can't you change the valuation mechanism? And in that valuation mechanism, you charge GST on cost plus 10%. Cost plus 10%, of which credit would be available, and when I'm selling my product, I will be paying GST on value addition. So ultimately government got the GST, whatever they wanted on transaction value, and it is smoothened in terms of working capital requirement for all of us together. If extra working capital required and stock transfer, you know, subjective. You will not be able to sell within a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. So that time this is a blockage of fund. I hope you are getting my point. Am I clear about it? This is another component coming in. Now supply, the way it is being defined, and I was reading newspaper 2 days back, I read even the government official has flagged the term supply. It's not me. And I can rate why they are raising this point. The way term supply is being defined, supply includes, without defining what is supply, the definition of supply says supply includes. So first of all, what is supply is subjective interpretation, divergent interpretation, and then includes inclusive definition. So what we all are talking about, we are saying that when we are moving for such a biggest indirect tax reform since independence, we should not have such kind of definition which is going to be again litigated post GST. Term manufacture defined under section 2 subsection F Central Excise Act 1944. Only on term manufacture, sir, 20% of indirect tax dispute versus what is manufacturing. It is not yet settled. So what we need to see is a both responsibility. Public, private, both responsibility. We have to come together. We have to understand why we are sounding like this and what definition required to be. And supply, I can take 1 or 2 examples because time is paused. I'm being told only for half an hour, but I'm highlighting certain things are really eye-catching which require correction. Supply even without consideration chargeable to GST. So just take one example without consideration. There are 5 transactions in Schedule 1. Permanent transfer of asset. Second, any asset retained after deregistration, or business asset or services put to personal use or non-business use, and any FOC supplies of goods and services. I will do 2 case studies so that you can understand. The first one is, let's say I have given employee Airtel card to all of you. You are all employee, I give an Airtel card to you. You can use the Airtel card. But if you are using Airtel card for personal purpose, and that too without consideration, GST applicable. This is the one component. Perfect, all right. But what happens for GST input tax credit? GST input tax credit provision says if you are using for personal purpose, credit is being denied. So look at this transaction. Here credit is being denied and here GST is chargeable. Double taxation. Are you getting my point? But these are not like here. Again, repeatedly I am telling you, my objective is that such kind of provisions should not be taken over post GST regime. In GST, what we are finding, it should be automized. Concern and worry coming. Valuation. Valuation says you get one cert free, right, in a market. So the free cert, central excise applicable but no VAT chargeable, right? But tomorrow GST applicable. And what would be the valuation? Comparable. Similar product. So 5,000 rupees base cert, then the free cert would be valuation 5,000 rupees GST applicable. For valuing the goods, no problem. For valuing the services, big problem. See, I am giving opinion today to all of you, free of cost. No service tax applicable. But tomorrow, GST applicable. What would be the valuation? What would be the valuation? Valuation would be similar opinion given to someone. If I have not given similar opinion, let's say I am giving first time in my lifetime services of Mr. Harish Salve only. So are you going to value the Harish Salve's services with valuation of Bimal Jain, and that too he has not been paid by you, and that to GST applicable in the hands of Bimal Jain. So I am saying there are lot many things which need to be analyzed, which need to be introspected from both of us together. I am saying from government side and from trade side. It's not like that trade should be here only to criticize. Trade should be here, sir, what is the suggestion then? They are asking suggestion. Give the suggestion. Give the feedback. Even after that nothing happened, we can very well say we have voiced it, but we do not find the correction therein. Coming to the next component, GST input tax credit, right? Why we need GST? We want seamless flow of input tax credit. That is what the objective. And laudable change is business concept is being inserted within the provision. Now, if you pay taxes, credit would be available. It should be related to your business. But still within the provision, there are certain negative, flat. Credit is not available. Like construction of immovable property, credit is not available. Employee related, credit is not available. And the same provision which is existing in today in Standard Credit Rules 2004. So my only apprehension why we should take negative point of existing indirect taxes in post GST regime. If at all we are going so openly and we want to levy taxes so widely, credit should be made seamless. Credit should be available. Now coming to the important point which is very much important for all of you. I understand we are discussing intra-state, interstate, number of things. And here I would like to draw attention of all of us together. Now we have to determine whether my transaction is an intra-state or interstate. If it is intra-state, CGST, SGST. If it is interstate, IGST. Am I clear? Let's say today I treat my transaction as intra-state. Then I must have charged CGST and SGST. I would have collected also, I have deposited also. But after 2 years, it turned out to be an interstate transaction. After 2 years, it turned out to be an interstate transaction. Then what is applicable? IGST, right? So in that case, question may come, can I adjust my CGST and SGST for payment of IGST? Section 53 says no. You have to pay IGST and you have to go for refund of CGST and SGST. And what is this thumb rule for determining intra and inter? Intra is when location of supplier and place of supply is in same state. Is in same state. And what is inter? Location of supplier and place of supply is in different state. Now I'm going to tell you another interesting point which you might not have experienced, but today it would be eye-opener to all of you here. Let's say I'm in Delhi, I'm a chartered accountant, you are my client in Delhi. You said there is one case coming up in Bombay High Court. You said, Mr. Jain, why can't you go to Bombay and appear on our behalf? Okay, so I've got registration in Delhi, you got registration in Delhi. I've gone to Bombay High Court for appearing. I stayed in Le Meridien Hotel in Mumbai. Le Meridien Hotel in Mumbai. So Le Meridien Hotel is going to charge GST. For them it would be intrastate or interstate. Just apply. I'm not asking cross questioning. Intra, inter. Intra. Location of supplier, Le Meridien Maharashtra. Place of supply, location of immovable property, Maharashtra. Both are in same state, intra. CGST and Maharashtra SGST. Just imagine what Bimal Jain will do with Maharashtra SGST. What Bimal Jain do with Maharashtra SGST? It's a cost. Are you getting my point? So GST has got wide implication. Why I'm raising, I can carry on giving transition provision and highlight those provisions for our preparation. But I'm only saying that within GST, and now this concern is also being raised, whether the CGST would be central or state specific. I understand Maharashtra SGST, only Maharashtra specific. Whether CGST going to be central, that is what the concern coming out. Now we got different segment, manufacturer, VAT dealer and service sector. You may try to evaluate your position that post GST what would be my life, right? Perfect. So GST is automized way of indirect taxes. My outward supply would be your inward supply, automized. You need not require to do anything. You have to add, modify and rectify, which window would be available on GST and network. But the concern which is coming to SME sector, they are not automized. They all do manual paperwork. Manual paperwork. So we have to take it forward for education, for training to those traders who are below 30 lakh, below 40 lakh, below 50 lakh. They're the compounding dealer provision 50 lakh rupees. And here also I would like to draw attention. Compounding dealer is a composition. Under VAT you must have seen. When you follow this particular mechanism, you can't take credit and your output is chargeable at a concessional rate. So they say at the not less than 1%. So minimum 2% would be there, CGST and SGST. you can't take credit. But if you're dealing in interstate trade, you can't go for compounding dealer. Look at Bimal Jain, is in Delhi, he's a service provider. He's also giving services to Gurgaon based client. He's also giving services to Noida based client. Not common. And my turnover is only 30 lakh rupees, I won't be able to take compounding dealer registration. So there are within, now you would be thinking, why such provision? Because this provision was picked up from that perspective, but never imagined that service is again going to be. And for service, there will be small time player SME, MSME. I am not only saying SME, MSME from goods perspective, service perspective as well. For service sector, big worry is coming out, they are only filing half yearly to return. Half yearly to return, right? April to September, October to March. Now if you look at the list of return we have to file, it talks about minimum 3 return, outward supply by 10, inward supply by 15, consolidated by 28. If ISD, 13th of next month, TDS director by 10th of next month, 5 into 12, 60, 1 annual return by 31st December. So what happened in that scenario for service sector? Service sector is more worried for their return filing process. But if you look at from government side, I can say unless I file my outward supply, it cannot be your inward supply. Automized. So there is nothing to worry about. Only thing is that if we can prepare ourselves well in advance. And what is the most important aspect? If I am in Delhi and I want to do business all over India, I can do that. I can file return sitting in Delhi. There will be same form. I need to have only user ID and password, that's all. I need not require to go to Kerala, Tamil Nadu or Kanyakumari. I can do sitting all here. So that kind of preparation required to be. That is what the education required to be. Now coming to the little more component, GST, ITC, I was saying there is a negative provision. But there is another negative provision, which is quite eye-catching. And we are thinking, why such provision exists, right? And I was listening in the inaugural session that, what is the guarantee that imprisonment provision will not be invoked? Am I right? This was, I was listening. I'm hopeful of, this is my personal view. I'm not making statement from any chamber. I'm hopeful of this government and this GST law is an automized law. Manual interference is minimized. You will not have manual interference. You will have all automized. In that automation, what is required now, central and state need to have synergy together. State are not having experience of adjudication for levy of taxes on services, right? So little worry is coming out. And what is the worry coming out? On 22nd and 23rd of September when GST Council met, they decided all service tax SCC will go to central government. On 30th September again backtrack. So this GST Council, we do not want to see the similar kind of VAT regime post GST, right? That is a big concern in everyone's mind. And what is the clarity we all are looking for? We all are looking for that these are the things should be so simplified, clarified, that it should not bounce back on our head. But on top of it, what we can do from our side? First one, registration, right? Registration, I've heard many confusion throughout the country. I'm traveling across India and I find confusion. GST is a destination-based consumption tax, right? As against origin-based tax. So what happened? Am I supposed to take registration in the state of destination or in the state of origin? I'm just posting this query. Origin-based. So let's say I'm supplying from Delhi, I have to take registration only in Delhi state where from supply is being made. Am I clear about it? Now if I'm supplying across India, I would be charging IGST. Right? And IGST credit would be available. So registration required from the state where from supply is being made. And this GST is a destination-based consumption tax. If IGST applicable, then SGST component of IGST will go to the state where goods are being consumed or services are being consumed. And last and foremost, I'm being asked that I should sum up my technical presentation, transition provision. What are the transition provision? You are existingly registered. What happened post GST? We will get provisional registration. You have 4 manufacturing plant in one state. We require to have 4 registration or 1 registration. Those are all transition provision and evolving. Credit line and SANVAT and VAT, CGST and SGST. But what happened for goods in transit and capital goods in transit, for which existing taxes levied, which is not available as a credit in my SANVAT account or VAT account? What happened to that credit? My goods are lying with a job worker. My goods are lying with the agent. There are not many continuous contract where I pay some existing taxes today. What happened post GST? So there are lot many things for our preparation as well. So to sum up in one line, we all are talking about GST is a goods and services tax, but I say it's a good and simple tax. That is my dream all about. It should be good and simple tax. Second point which I want to make as summarization, I know number of points are there, and I have not stated for the sake of criticism. I stated for the sake of representation. Which is our representation? We all are looking for the correction of those provisions. Third, CGST component, which is a central levy, it should not be made state specific. Big concern going in a mind. So third one. Fourth one, how the preparation can start. Being a member of particular this association, you can just jot down your perspective, create your questionnaire, start answering in FAQ manner. Government has issued FAQ, 276 pages FAQ is already on public domain. So from government side, they are taking their best initiative, I must say, best initiative. And this is what initial teething problem, understanding of the provision, representation of the issues which we have in our mind. But let's start with, because equally we are responsible for biggest indirect tax reform since independence, and we are party to it. So we have to raise wherever we have got concern, and we have to make sure that those concerns are being heard at appropriate forum.